And hit pause to try to figure out the part of speech and definition. Okay, so we have the word polarized and we also have the word polarized. Now there's only one part of speech that's going to change based on the tense of a sentence, and that is, do you remember? It is a verb. Very good. So let's try to figure out what this verb means. The Eskimos could not settle their differences, and so they decided to polarize the polar ice. Look at what they did. What did they do to the ice? They split it right down the middle, right? They separated it. If you think about the poles, we have the North Pole and the South Pole. Those are completely opposite one another, right? They couldn't be any further away from one another. So to polarize is to separate, right? Polar opposites, they're completely opposite. But I got some bonus for you, okay? So polarize is a verb, but it doesn't always have to be a verb. And I'm going to show you what I mean. Let's look at these two other sentences. So the jury became polarized when half thought that the defendant was guilty and the other half thought that he was innocent. What part of speech is a jury? A jury is a group of people, so that would have to be a noun, right? So what's polarized? How is polarized working in this sentence? The jury is polarized. So here, polarized is describing jury, which is a noun. And we call words that describe nouns, we call those adjectives. Exactly. So this one's a little interesting because you're tempted to think that because it ends in ed, it's a verb. And usually that is true. But sometimes certain words can be verbs, and they could also be adjectives. So polarized can also be used as an adjective. And it means the same thing, right? The jury became split in half. The football stadium became split in half, right? We have two opposing sides. Okay, so it means something very similar, but it functions in the sentence a little bit differently. So very good work. I've got a question for you today that I want you to think about. Is it ever okay to lie? Is it ever okay to lie? So that's something I want you to consider today. Okay, so we're going to read a little bit, and your goal is to find a signpost. Okay, so you're on the lookout for a signpost. All right, so Henrique comes in and he's talking to Anne-Marie and Kirsty and Ellen, and he brings up something a little strange. Well, girls, it is a sad event, but not too sad, really, because she was very, very old, and there has been a death, and tonight your great-aunt Bertie will be resting in the living room, in her casket, before she's buried tomorrow. You know, it's an old custom for the dead to rest at home, and their loved ones to be with them before the burial. Kirsty was listening with a fascinated look. Right here? She asked. A dead person right here? Emery said nothing. She was confused. This was the first she had heard about a death in the family. No one had called Copenhagen to say that there had been a death. No one had seemed sad, and most puzzling of all, she had never heard the name before. Amory was quite certain, though she said nothing, that there was no great Aunt Bertie. She didn't exist. Okay, well that's a little strange. What signpost would this be? I would say it's a contrast and contradiction. Do you agree? What's unexpected here? I feel like it's a little unexpected that Henrique would make up a random person and make up that they have died. That seems a little strange. So I want to practice making a discussion question really quick. So do you remember what we do first? We write down the anchor question, which we can find on the bookmarks. And the anchor question is, why would the character act or feel this way? And then what do we do to the anchor question? We just make it more specific. Exactly. So why don't you hit pause and try to figure out, make up a discussion question on your own. Instead of asking why would the character act or feel this way, who's acting strange? Henrique. So why would Henrique act this way? Well, you can make it more specific than that. Why would Henrique do what? How about this? Why would Henrique lie about Great Aunt Bertie? Why would Henrique invent the story of Great Aunt Bertie? Right? Why would he lie? Now that is a very good question. And that is a question we're going to try to answer right now. So what I want you to do, I want you to echo any of the dialogue that is colored, okay? And we're going to try to figure out why Henrique is lying, okay? So you try to echo me. This is going to help you to get better at reading. How brave are you, little Anne-Marie? Henrique asked suddenly. It was a question that she did not want to be asked. When she asked it of herself, she didn't like her own answer. Not very, she confessed, looking at the floor of the barn. I think that is not true, Uncle Henrique said. I think you're like your mama, and like your papa, and like me, frightened but determined. And if the time came to be brave, I am quite sure you would be very, very brave. But, he added, it is much easier to be brave if you don't know everything. And so your mama does not know everything, and neither do I. We only know what we need to know. Do you understand what I am saying? He looked into her eyes. Anne-Marie frowned. She wasn't sure. What did bravery mean? She had been very frightened that day not long ago, though now it seemed far in the past, when the soldier had stopped her on the street and asked questions in his rough voice. And she had not known everything then. She had not known that the Germans were going to take away the Jews. And so, when the soldier asked, looking at Ellen that day, "What is your name?" she had been able to answer him, even though she was frightened. If she had known everything, it would not have been so easy to be brave. She began to understand just a little. Yes, she said to Uncle Henry, I think I understand. You guessed correctly, he told her. There is no Great Aunt Bertie, and never has been. Your mama lied to you. And so did I. We did so, he explained, to help you to be brave. Because we love you. Will you forgive us for that? Anne-Marie nodded. Very good. Great echoing. So, I'm going to post up a few quick quotes from that little section. And I want to see if you can tell me what signpost it is, okay? So you could jot these down or just quiz yourself in your mind, okay? So number 1, how brave are you, little Anne-Marie? That one is a tough question. Very good. Number 2, it is much easier to be brave if you don't know everything. Here we have an older character, Henrique, and he's giving advice. So this would be words of the wiser. What did bravery mean? That is another tough question. And how about this? Even though she was frightened back in the past when the soldier stopped her, if she had known everything, it would not have been so easy to be brave. She began to understand just a little. Yes, she said to Henrique, I think I understand. So that quote, especially the part where it says she began to understand, shows that Anne-Marie is starting to realize and understand what Henrique is saying. So she's having an aha moment. Very good. Okay, so I want to talk about this bravery really quick. So Henrique says that it's easier to be brave if you don't know everything. And I want to know, is that actually bravery? If you don't know that something is dangerous, is it actually bravery? Let me give you an example. So one night, my friend and I, we were in Chicago, and we were at a party, and we're on top of a skyscraper, okay? It looks kind of like this picture right here. And we were dancing, and we're having a great time, getting our groove on. You can't see me right now, but I'm actually dancing to the memory. And my friend and I, we were getting really hot, okay? Now, there's one thing you need to know about my friend Nate, okay? Nate is blind, okay? So we're dancing like crazy, And Nate, he grabs my shoulder and he's like, "Man, I'm so thirsty. Like, do you want some water?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, please." So he's like, "All right, I got you." So he walked away. Okay, and I'm just over here dancing and minding my own thing, doing my own thing, getting my groove on. And Nate didn't realize it, but he ended up walking, and he ended up walking onto a tightrope that separated the two buildings. There was a rope that went across between these two buildings, and my friend Nate, because he's blind, he didn't realize that he was walking on this rope. He thought he was still on top of the roof. And so I looked over from the dance floor, and I'm like panicking. I'm like, "Nate!" And he turns around, and I was like, "Oh no!" I reach out, and I was like, "No!" Yeah. And he's like, "What?" And so my friend, he turns back around. He's like, "Whatever, Josh is being weird, right?" So he walks all the way across to the other side of the building, grabs a water bottle from the other side, and walks all the way back across. And the whole time, he didn't even realize that he could have fallen. He could have fallen, and I mean, we were really high up. Like, he would have been seriously hurt. So my question to you is, Nate had no idea that he was in danger. So was he being brave? So I don't know. I want you to think about this. I don't know if there's a right or wrong answer here. But it seems to me like Nate, if he doesn't know that what he's doing is really risky, then he's not being brave. I can understand what Henrique is saying. Anne-Marie didn't know that Ellen was in trouble. And so when the soldier asked, "What's your name?" she didn't realize, oh, if I say Ellen, like, she might be in danger. So it was easier to answer. But was Anne-Marie being brave? I don't know. Maybe it's easier to be brave, but I don't know if it's what real bravery is. To me, it seems like you need to know what you're doing is risky and dangerous, and you choose to do it anyway. Because honestly, I think Nate was just lucky. I think that was just luck that he didn't fall. Okay, so my friends, you are going to be playing the role of Anne-Marie. Okay, you're going to see her lines at the bottom of the screen. Okay, so when you see her lines, please read them out. You're going to read her lines and her thoughts, okay? And do your best to try to sound like Anne-Marie, okay? So this performance, Great Aunt Bertie, we're having her funeral, and then we hear another knock on the door. And who is it again? It's Nazi soldiers, okay? So in enter the soldiers. Now, Anne-Marie, you know that there's no Great Aunt Bertie. You know that there's nobody in the casket. But Ellen doesn't know. Kirsty doesn't know. Okay? So do your best to sound like Anne-Marie. Okay? And
we have observed a large number of people gathered in this house tonight. What is the explanation?
There has been a death. It is our tradition to gather and pay respects when a family member dies. I'm sure you are familiar with our customs.
Oh, who died?
Oh, poor Great Aunt Bertie.
I do know your customs, and it is to pay one's respects by looking your loved ones in their face.
It seems odd to me that you have closed this curtain up so tightly.
Why is it not open? Let us open it and take one last look at Great Aunt Bertie.
You're right. The doctor said it should be closed because she died of typhus, and the germs might still be there. They would still be dangerous, but what does he know? Only a country doctor and an old man at that. Surely typhus germs would not linger in a dead person. And dear Aunt Bertie, I've been longing to see her face. Of course we will open the casket. I'm glad you suggest...
You foolish woman!
To think we would have an interest in seeing the body of your deceased aunt. Open the antler, we have leave.
and put out these candles and pull the curtains.
Okay, so think about this. Anne-Marie knew that there was no great Aunt Bertie. So when the soldier goes to open the casket, what do you think Anne-Marie is thinking? She's probably freaking out, like, no, 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 like, don't open it. But think about it from Ellen's point of view. Ellen has no idea that there's no great Aunt Bertie. She actually thinks that there's a body, right, in that casket, like usual. So when the soldier goes to open it, you can imagine Anne-Marie is probably freaking out. Like her heart is probably pounding. But for Ellen is probably like, oh yeah, sure, like let's open the casket. Like I was kind of confused why they didn't have it open in the first place. You kind of see what I mean? So I think what Henrique is saying might have a little bit of truth to it. It's probably easier to be brave if you don't know. Ellen had no idea that there was no great Aunt Bertie, and so she probably wasn't as scared. But for Anne-Marie, because she knew there was no great Aunt Bertie, she was freaking out. But luckily, Mama very quickly saved the day by tricking the soldier into not opening the casket. Okay, so I want to talk to you guys about your homework. Your homework is due Friday. Try to turn it in before 8 a.m. Okay? Your homework is to finish reading the book. Okay? Enjoy the ending. And to record at least 2 signposts. So I'm going to show you that really quick. So if you go to 6th grade, okay, so the classwork will be posted on the stream, and it's also in classwork, obviously. And it's just like all the other homeworks. All you're going to do, you'll click on the homework that's due Friday, read chapter 13 to the end. You're going to find 2 signposts. And of course, if you find more, you're getting extra credit. Lots of you guys have been getting tons of extra credit. And what's even more important, it's not even about the grade, right? I mean, we're at school to get better. What you're really doing when you do this extra work is you're getting better. You're getting better at reading. You're getting better at writing. So that's why we go above and beyond, because it's not really about the grade, though the grade is nice, right? So also, feel free to make a discussion question. That's another great way to get lots of extra credit, okay? So you're going to read 13 to the end. Okay, I found a signpost on the last page of the book, 112. Something showed up again and again. Cough, cough. You will notice something showing up again and again on the last page. All right. When you're done, please hit turn in, okay? And have a great rest